1973, Los Altos, California. A 12-year-old boy wanted to build an electronic device. He needed a specific part for it. He searched everywhere he could, including automobile salvage yards, spending hours going through discarded components, but he couldn't find it. So he did something that a comfortable child, a child with every resource available, would never have done. He looked up the home phone number of Bill Hewlett, the co-founder of Hewlett Packard, one of the largest technology companies in America at that time, and this boy called him. A 12-year-old, no connections, no introductions, no LinkedIn mails, just a problem, a telephone, and the audacity that only desperation produces. Hewlett not only gave him the part, he gave him a summer internship. And at HP, there was a group called HP Explorers Club, researchers and engineers who met regularly and shared their latest ideas and real technical knowledge. This 12-year-old sat among them. He was learning things that no school would have taught him. He was building relationships that would shape everything that came after. None of this would have happened if that part was easy to find. Frictions like this, non-availability of parts, searching through salvage yards, the phone call to a stranger did not slow him down. It built him. It built his willingness to go to unusual lengths. It built the belief that if you want to do something badly enough, you will find a way. That boy's name was Steve Jobs. That world where nothing came easily was not unique to one garage in California. I grew up in Chennai in the 1990s. One afternoon, I nearly spent 2 hours finding my friend's house in Raipeta, a house that I'd been to exactly once before. Just half-remembered landmarks, wrong turns, and strangers I stopped to ask for help. Today, Google Maps would have done that in 4 minutes. A 12-year-old would never need to ask a stranger for anything. Getting drinking water meant a weekly lorry, a street scramble, push and pull with your neighbors, sometimes quarrels, enough friction to teach you that resources don't wait for you to be ready. All those frictions meant that we had learned to plan, to think ahead, to never assume that things would simply work out, and to make decisions that would hold for a week because reversing them was expensive. Our parents had grown up with fewer resources, more friction. Their parents, more still. But we had all absorbed those frictions without question because they were never seen as problems. They were simply part of life. And then my generation and then yours, Gen Z, we started solving all those frictions. I'm an industrial designer. My entire career has been about reducing the friction between a user and the product, reducing the gap between what a user wants to do and what a product lets them do. Steve Jobs said any meaningful task on a device should be achievable in 3 steps. On the iPod, he wanted the user to play any song from a library of 1,000 songs within 3 clicks. And that single obsession gave us the scroll wheel. So his objective was to reduce the friction, and Gen Z made that as a religion. Today you have apps that order your groceries without talking to anyone, apps that find you love based on half-second judgment, tools that write your emails, summarize your meetings, and generate your reports, right? So then there is search. For 20 years, Google had a deal with us. You ask a question, Google throws 40 links back, you open 10 tabs, sometimes you forget what you are looking. You end up reading about Roman Empire for 45 minutes, you close everything, you give up. That was called finding the information. We were fine with it. We never saw Google search as a problem. It was simply a way of life. Then AI arrived. You ask a question, now you receive the answer. Just the answer in complete sentences with inline citations. No need for tabs, no more Romans. For Gen Z, difficulty in accomplishing any task is a design flaw. Every obstacle is a problem waiting to be engineered away. So that is how the life has become. It has become a frictionless at present. Gen Alpha is the first generation in history raised in an almost frictionless environment. They are not only living in a frictionless world, but also in a personalized one. Every screen they touch reflects only what they already like, what they already believe, where they already want to go. Yeah, algorithmically curated world that bends to them. But leadership requires you to bend to the world. A market crash does not check your settings. A product failure cannot be swiped away. A crisis arrives with no instruction manual and no algorithm to smooth it over. What gets a company or a team get through that moment of crisis is the people who have already learned in their bones that hard things can be survived. That uncertainty is not paralyzing. That you can stand in a room where everything is going wrong and still find a way through. That learning, that experience, you cannot download it, you cannot prompt it, you can only earn it. There is a concept in biology called hormesis. A short dose of something harmful makes an organism stronger. Exercise is hormesis. You are literally tearing your muscle fibers so they can rebuild stronger and harder. Vaccination is hormesis. A brief controlled encounter with difficulty triggers adaptation. Remove all difficulty, adaptation stops. You do not get a comfortable human being, you get a fragile one. And I am worried we might be raising a fragile generation. This is where Gen Z, as the generation stepping into the leadership as a responsibility to deliberately introduce that short dose of difficulty for Gen Alpha, a calibrated difficulty for Gen Alpha. This is what I call sandpaper leadership. Introduce a tiny amount of friction in the workplace. Let me give you some example how sandpaper leadership looks like. Stephen Schwarzman is the co-founder of Blackstone, one of the largest investment firms in the world, managing over $1 trillion in assets. In 1970, fresh out of college, he joined a Wall Street firm called DLJ. Fresh out of college, joined the Wall Street firm. It was a corner office, a great view, personal secretary. It was a perfect beginning until someone dropped a thick company annual report on his desk with no information. He had never seen an annual report in his life, right? Balance sheets, columns of numbers that meant nothing to him. The firm's philosophy was simple. We hire smart people figure it out. That day, Schwarzman sat there sweating alone because he had never seen an annual report in his life. Even decades later, just hearing that company's name made him feel moisture trickle down his back, right? The fear of being exposed as a fraud, right? His next assignment was to investigate a new restaurant chain business. Again, here there are no details, they gave nothing. So he visited the parent company and did what a thorough analyst would do, asked some smart questions to the company executives. But the executives grew cold and the meeting ended abruptly. So next when he came back to his office, there was one of his firm's presidents was waiting for him, right? He was very furious. He scolded Schwarzman publicly right there in front of everyone. So because Schwarzman's questions had crossed the legal line of gathering insider information. So, but then what is the next way forward? There's no answer. Just don't do that again. Schwarzman, next he joined another company called the Lehman Brothers. His first assignment at Lehman came from Herman Kahn, a senior partner who communicated largely through irritation. Schwarzman, Herman Kahn wanted a fairness opinion analysis of an airline seat manufacturer. So today such an analysis would take hours using computers and financial databases. Schwarzman spent days at Lehman's basement archives surrounded by towers of Wall Street journals and New York Times issues. When he emerged, he was covered in newsprinting. He produced 68 pages of careful, meticulous work. He was proud of it. He placed it on Kahn's desk and waited in his office room. A few hours later, the phone bell rang. It was Herman Kahn. There's a typo on page 56 and he kept the phone. That's it. Schwarzman looked at the page 56. The only error he could find was a misplaced comma. No feedback, no acknowledgement of 68 pages of work. But the message landed, these people don't forgive sloppiness, not even a comma. You need to adapt. Next, shortly later, Schwarzman was given another task, raise $100 million for a new student organization. He had never raised money in his life. Again, no contacts, no roadmap. So now, but this time, unlike his earlier days, he had learnt one critical lesson. Do not try to figure everything out alone. So he asked people around him, he got a simple framework. He then thought who would naturally care about the student organization, the top universities. So he pitched his ideas to them, and then one administrator, university administrator come investor, he taught him how fundraising actually works, not through long presentations, but through clear numbers, confidence, and clear benefits and social momentum through peer pressure. Schwarzman successfully raised money. Friction, it turns out, is not the enemy of excellence. It is the path to it. The frictionless environment protects you from embarrassment, but it also protects you from growth. Schwarzman's early failures did not slow down, it built him. Today, Blackstone is one of the largest investment firms in the world. So this is how Sandpaper leadership space looks like. Create a space that is safe enough for a person to fail, recover, and come back stronger. It means letting junior present to a difficult stakeholder even when you know it will not be perfect. You sit with the discomfort of not rescuing them immediately. You debrief them honestly afterwards. It means sometimes saying this part of the job is hard and uncomfortable. I need you to do it anyway, and standing with them while they do it. This is where Gen Z has a real advantage, empathy. Gen Z, you are better positioned to lead Gen Alpha than any generation before you. You understand their instincts. You speak their language. You know what it feels like to want everything to work seamlessly. Empathy is not a soft skill. It is the most prerequisite for everything. You cannot give someone the right friction if you do not understand what they are feeling or carrying. Use that empathy, but let it not become the reason why you never ask them to do anything hard. Empathy is not protection. The best coaches in the world understand their athletes more deeply than anyone. And they are also the ones who push those athletes past what the athletes believed possible. So understanding someone deeply is not the reason to make their lives easier. It is a reason to know exactly where the right friction goes. Gen Alpha will face moments where the world does not bend to them. That moments will come at work, at home, at the family, in the families they raise, in the companies they build, and in the decisions that define who they become. Your job as Gen Z, as the generation that leads them, is to ensure that when the moments come, they know they have already learned how to stand. So you give them that. You design the friction, calibrate the grid, and that is Sandpaper leadership. Thank you.